and he's going to house it.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your NASCAR, DFS, and betting home. That is Brian Twining in his brand new Christopher Buescher hat, who happens to have performed very nicely today. I'm your host, Kyle Robert. Brian Twining, your hat collection grows by the day, and you just sent me a screenshot of one more on the way. I mean, at some point, like you got to slow down, right? Or you're just gonna keep firing and see what happens.
Well, from hats to die-cast cars to jumping more and more into iRacing, like I am doing something I would have never thought in a million years I would be doing, and even my wife thinks that she married somebody different sometimes because of how excited I am about NASCAR now. Like it's great, man.
Yeah, the bug really got us. What a wild time. Who would have thought? But
Right?
yeah, so it's All-Star weekend. It's been interesting. Obviously, there's a lot of people on Twitter that aren't loving what's happening, and I think, I don't know, it's an interesting spot, right? Because NASCAR is in a spot where it's not a real race, and the track's wet, so they're running the rain tires, and some of the drivers feel like they could have ran the slicks and been fine, and it's really just more of a qualifying. They're not set it there. The actual race is obviously going to be on Sunday for $1 million. All that said, so before we jump in, though, a couple things. There was an issue with the video uploading on YouTube, so sorry for the delay on that, but we did get it out. I also want to update everybody. We are live on Spotify, including full video. So if you're on the move and you can't get to YouTube, but you want to check out the latest episode, we are going to be posting to Spotify as well. So make sure you subscribe over there if you are a podcast fan. Thought I wanted to give people more avenues to check out the show. Obviously, the YouTube or the video version is the best. We share screens, we do all the stuff, but we understand people's lives are busy and can't catch it all, so wanted to provide an opportunity. So if the podcast isn't showing up in a place you'd like to see it, please let me know. Let us know down in the comments. We can make that happen. But Brian Twining, we are gonna do our normal shtick, talk some DraftKings, update our betting card, all the good stuff. But it is an interesting spot because we watched qualifying on rain tires, and they'll be running slicks tomorrow, and there wasn't as much competition. Some of the guys fell back a little bit, but if you got to clean air, and that's kind of been the thing for every race, if you get to clean air, these cars fly, and you just kind of do your thing and whatnot. But I guess we did get qualifying on the slicks, or the practice rather, so at least we got some data. But I guess, where's your head at as of right now, and kind of your thoughts as we head into the actual race tomorrow?
Well, I mean, we talked about it before jumping on here, and I was in a short conversation on Twitter with somebody about this same thing. But in my opinion, from what we saw today during the heat races, yes, the racing sucked. I mean, there really wasn't passing, but who's going to be aggressive for qualifying heats when they're going to be running these cars tomorrow, and everybody understands, the assignment here? It's let's not be stupid and wreck our cars for no damn reason for a non-points earning race. That being said, tomorrow's an entire different story. There's going to be $1 million on the line. We're going to have double the amount of cars on track at one time than we saw today, with 10 and 11 guys during the heats. And you're going to see people try to jump into the high groove or the low groove, and they're going to be pushing people out of the way. You saw it multiple times during the heat race where Chase Briscoe, for instance, had plenty of opportunities to push Joey Logano into the wall and just tell him to get the hell out of here. And he didn't do it because what good would it have done him other than just piss Joey Logano off for once the regular season resumes?
Yeah. No, that's a great point, and like you mentioned, like when the $1 million is on the line, especially towards the end of the race, I bet we get a lot more aggressive. But that they understand the assignment.
Yeah, I also think it's important to note too, tomorrow during the race, we're going to have green flag pit stops.
Yeah,
So the field is going to get cycled. There's going to be some wonky stuff happening. Like today, they're non-competitive pit stops.
yep. And I also think the Open will give us a little bit of a idea too, because they are going to be racing for spots in the main race. So
Yes.
I think I'm a little bummed that we didn't get it today. That they shove it all into Sunday, and I get it. They want to maximize the entertainment or whatever. But it would be nice to know who's in the field. So when we do this, all that stuff.
It does kind
Uh,
of suck too, just to before we pivot off of there, like for the open drivers, not only do they have to win their open race, they have to their car has to survive, and then they have to start from the rear of the
yeah.
field in the all-star race on a vehicle that already ran whatever they're running during the open, be it 100 laps or I think it's like 80 laps or something. But
Yeah.
like they are at such a disadvantage.
Yeah. Yeah. It really sucks for the people running in the Open, and obviously two lucky drivers plus the fan vote will get through. So we'll fill out the field. But yeah, we have three people who are going to be running on questionable cars, and hopefully nothing crazy happens at the end where they're all of a sudden running on a three-wheeler and trying to make it work for the start of the race. So
And if I'm not mistaken, I think that happened last year where somebody wrecked
yeah,
and they either couldn't advance to the all-star race or they had to start the race with a
there was a
completely
big wreck at the end. I remember Reddick was part of it. I'm not sure
I think
who
it was
ended up.
Austin Dillon or something, maybe.
Yeah, I my
But yeah,
brain.
like so it's going to be interesting to watch the open, and I really think um if the odds are still out there, which obviously they should be, but who the hell knows how these sports books are doing this week. But I think watching the open is going to be a lot more telling as to the type of racing we're going to see for the all-star race than anything we saw today. So
Yeah.
like just personally, I'm not going to get too crazy on anything right now.
Yeah, yeah, and Brian and I, if you're following the show on Twitter, if you're following us on Twitter, we'll try and give out some thoughts as we get better ideas. We'll obviously give you some ideas today of what we're thinking, where our heads at. We're gonna try and build a DraftKings lineup. Obviously, it's interesting because there is some guys in the open that are gonna be compelling targets. At the same time, like Brian mentioned, they're gonna be running on cars that already ran in the race. So obviously the experience on the track's nice, but some of the other guys with their opportunities today and in practice got similar experience, and then their cars are going to be a little bit behind the eight ball. So we'll have some decisions to make for sure. So let me throw up DraftKings and we can look at some pricing and we can try and make some decisions. Like Brian said, I think it's going to be a light week in general. Just no point in getting ahead of our skis and forcing stuff that just does not need to happen. So Kyle Larson is the only 10K guy this week, starting 16th. Harvick starting 15th at 9,900. Logano starting 3rd, 97. Chris Bell starting 7th at 95. Truex, and then Byron. I guess from a construction standpoint, Brian, like we saw how important getting to clean air is. We saw some of the guys that were really fast in practice. How comfortable should you be with guys that are kind of in the rear? Obviously, we saw some people make it through the field, and we know in their heats there wasn't a ton of cars, so it's hard to judge a ton. But I guess where's your head at? And then who is somebody that's interesting in that, basically 9K range and above?
Well, yeah, no, it's going to be really interesting because having double the amount of cars on there, if you
Yeah.
start in the rear and, say you miss a corner, just one corner, you're at risk of being lapped within,
Yeah.
15 laps at North Wilkesboro from what we saw today during the trucks. Like it only took 20 laps for them to get to get to the lap cars. And I mean, these guys are going to be just the same, if not better. So, I mean, you cannot make any mistakes if you're starting at the rear of the field here. And I feel like that's the risk of DFS this week. Even going with the Kyle Larson, who say he gets muddled up in traffic and starts beating and banging early, trying to maneuver his way to the front, he could be vulnerable
Yeah.
early here.
Yeah. Obviously dominated the truck race, so that was a good thing to see. But his practice wasn't very impressive. Like he was slow in practice. He didn't look very comfortable. Obviously a guy that many expected to be really, really strong this weekend. So it was a little frustrating to see, but I mean, I don't know. Do you think people are going to kind of fade him, or do you think expectations of him and how he won the truck race, he's going to be super popular?
Yeah, I feel like Kyle Larson will still be pretty heavily rostered this
Yeah.
week. I mean, the fact that he won the truck race at a track that nobody has ran in 27 years, I mean, just goes to show you how good of a driver he is. And it really solidifies what we were talking about earlier in the week, that coming out of this weekend, Kyle Larson should be an every week add to your card, no matter what the line is, especially if they're still going to start offering him to open weeks at 5 or 6 to 1.
Yeah. Yeah. If you are feeling Larson each and every week, grab him early because that number is going to crash.
Yeah.
So if not Larson, are you going to Harvick? Do you interest in Truex? Maybe his teammate William Byron? Denny. Well, he's actually the next range, so I'll wait for him. But I guess if you are pivoting off of Larson, expecting a lot of ownership to go there, where do you go? Is it somebody in this range, or should we go down to the 8K range and talk about a few of those names?
So somebody that kind of piqued my interest coming into the week was Christopher Bell. I think he's really intriguing starting 7th. He's got nice track position. He put on a show. He was one of the guys who, if this was a real race, he probably would have been moving 2 to 3 cars out of his way during his heat. And then the Kevin Harvick thing, like, he was great during practice. Obviously, they're going to be running slicks tomorrow, or so we hope. And on the slicks, he's going to be much better than what he showed today. And I mean, us old farts, like, we don't like change, and you could tell right from the get-go, Kevin Harvick was not excited about running the wet weather tires. So
yeah, it was funny that it was Harvick and Denny and all the olds that were real mad about it. Yeah,
it's all the old folks. Like, what is this crap? But yeah, like, so I would almost rather go with Harvick over Larson, just to kind of maybe buck the trend of what regular people are going to do.
No.
However, it is Kevin Harvick weekend. He's running the 29 car. Like, it, I'm curious to see if maybe he actually out rosters Kyle Larson for that fact.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a good call. I like Byron some, but the Hendrick guys kind of in general were very underwhelming. I'm with you on Christopher Bell. He's on my card. I like him a lot.
Yeah, he looked good.
Harvick's fine. Let's dive into the 8K range because I think that's where things get real interesting. Denny, like him a lot too, starting at 8,800, starting 9th. Ross, 18th, 8,600 is interesting, but like you mentioned, can easily get behind the 8 ball, and all of a sudden he's down a couple laps.
And we know how not safe of a driver he is. So
yeah, he's somebody that if you get close towards the end, maybe he's more interesting. But if he makes some dumb decisions early, trying to make it up, especially if he gets lapped pretty quickly, I could see him making some dumb decisions. For what it's worth, he did get much faster as practice went along. So his longer run speed is good. So we'll be interesting to see how many laps they can keep going out there and not have cautions and all kinds of issues. Josh Berry, we're still waiting to see if he even gets in the field, but based on the way the Hendrick guys are driving, I don't know that I'm not necessarily as excited about him as I kind of was when we had our initial conversation. Chase is starting 13th.
The one thing though, I almost feel like Josh Berry, if he does what's expected of him during the open race, he's going to have a high roster percentage, because that means that he's going to look really good in that race along with Ty Gibbs, and they're going to be starting at the rear of the field. So I almost feel like if you're in a GPP lineup, I almost feel like you'd want to avoid those guys because they're going to be pretty heavily rostered, knowing they're starting from the rear.
I think that's a good call, especially if they look dominant in the open race. Like,
Yeah.
because I could see those two guys jumping out to, kind of creating separation
Mm.
and being awesome. Ty Gibbs, I liked him to win the race. Obviously, his pit crew was really good, so they got him on the pole for tomorrow. So that's good to see.
Maybe he gets us now.
Yeah, well, he's always got us, Brian. That's the thing about him. And then the Dinger is also in the wait and see mode. So obviously, the nice thing is for everybody else listening, you'll have a much clearer picture of where you're going to start everybody and who actually made it out of the open. But we wanted to get this out and get it to you so you guys could make some decisions. And obviously, like I said, we'll try and tweet some stuff out and share some thoughts as the day rolls along. So beyond Barry, Brian, we have Chase starting 13th. He's kind of interesting if you want to go to the Hendrick route. I guess, where is your head at in the 8K range beyond kind of the Hendrick guys?
Honestly, so I like Denny starting ninth. Like
No.
the JGR guys for me are going to be really strong. We saw it in practice, and I feel like that's the best indication that we're going to get of how these guys are going to look on the track on Sunday. Because again, today really didn't say much other than either like backing up speed that they showed or just track position overall winning outright. And then from the guys that you can see on this list right there, I would just go all the way to the bottom and snag Tyler Reddick starting 20th at 7,700 because he was one of the fastest cars during practice. And again, in that Toyota camp, basically running it's 2311, but basically 23 JGR. So for me, it would be Reddick over either Barry or Ty Gibbs.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a good way to pivot as we kind of go into this range. Kyle Busch, Ryan Preece, the aforementioned Tyler Reddick, Almirola, we'll see. Ryan Blaney looks great. He is super fast.
And he's due.
It's time for him to win. He is
Yep.
absolutely going to be in my lineup. He was third after 15 laps, first after 20, 25, and 30. And yeah, I'm excited about what he can do. And I don't have to worry about, with the shorter race, the chances of nonsense happening to him early is hopefully out of the way.
That said, they are going to have green flag pit stops. So.
Oh God, he is so toast. The RFK guys, Brad Keselowski was really good. Obviously we'll see what he looks like on slicks, but
again, another oldie who was not
right
fantastic on the wet tires,
but did get better between 5, 10, and 15 laps.
Yeah.
So that is something to think about. The 7K range, keep rolling into the 6th. As you mentioned, Chase Briscoe finished starting 5th. Suarez on the pole. We'll see about some of the guys that are still waiting to get in. Gilliland actually picked up some decent speed. It was still not super fast, but got better. Justin Haley didn't run very, very many laps consistently. So kind of a mixed bag in this range. Are you interested in any, like, is Suarez somebody, as we, talk 6K guys, that, get to an early lead? You don't have to, like, there's going to be so many, it's a shorter race. Getting those dominator points early might be really important.
Of the guys starting on the front row, quite honestly, I got to back the namesake of the hat I'm wearing, Chris Buescher. I mean, it was probably pretty pronounced, the difference in the two heats, and heat 2 was probably stronger than heat 1. Buescher also looked really good during practice, posting like the 5th and 6th fastest times over the 20 and 25 lap averages. So, I mean, the speed is clearly there for his car, and it's not just the wet weather tires. And the only thing about him, though, is that starting on the slicks and starting on the outside of the front row, because I could only assume Suarez is going to take the inside, he's going to have to get down quick because it's already
determined, right?
Well, I think the pole sitter gets to decide if he wants to start on the inside or the outside.
No, I think the winner. I think it's the first heat was to decide the
Oh, that's right. That was the inside row. You're right.
inside row, and then yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So okay, so there you go. So Buscher's either going to have to get a great jump from the get, or he's going to have to get down immediately because
Yeah.
you saw it during both heat races. If you're stuck on the outside, you're getting
Right.
trained on the inside. Like
jump, but he like you mentioned was really fast. If you look at his practice speeds, he was third, second, fourth, and fifth in 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. So really fast over the long run. RFK boys look really good, even with Brad Keselowski hitting his tires. So yeah, I think that is an interesting call. I think both those guys are really compelling. Jump to the front, take the lead, as you mentioned. Starting on the inside is a little bit of a benefit, and if he gets stuck on the outside, that line doesn't move quite as fast. So, are you interested in Chandler Smith or Justin Haley or even Michael McDowell if for some reason they're one of the cars that ends up getting in, or is this really?
I just don't know if their equipment, along
Yeah,
with like the combination of their equipment and their talent. I mean, all these guys are incredibly talented. Don't get me wrong, but starting from the rear of the field, seeing how difficult it is to work your way through the field, I just don't think that they have the ability to make any noise in a race like this.
yeah, yeah. No, I think that's a good point.
Kind of
Um,
like Eric Jones and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Like I have zero interest in having them in any way, shape, or form.
yeah,
DFS betting, like I'm fading the hell out of them.
yeah. No, I think that's a good call. I will say Almirola at 7,500, assuming he gets in, could be really interesting. Um, was 10th in five lap, but fifth in 10 lap, fourth in 15, seventh. Like he got as the longer he ran, the better he got. So he is somebody that I'm not opposed to going with. That being said, Brian, let's build a lineup and see what we can get to. So the two guys for me, though I guess there's three that are most compelling. Christopher Bell starting 7.
Adam.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Ryan Blaney starting 11th.
I'll never argue against Ryan Blaney.
And then Tyler Reddick starting 20th.
Put him in there.
Okay, perfect. I'm
Love
glad
it.
we're on the same page. So, question is, do we want to go with your RFK boy and put some Christopher Buscher? Or do we
I
want
mean,
to?
if this is a GPP lineup, I can assure you that he's probably not going to be that heavily rostered. So
I think he can get to the front. I think he can dominate early, and I think he could be somebody you want to have a piece of. So
let's
we
do
have,
it.
a lot of flexibility. We could go with Harvick or Truex. Logano was fast if we want another guy near the front.
Gross.
Um, Denny Hamlin, I think we both were simpatico there.
I'm okay adding Denny. I think he's got a good shot here.
And honestly, I don't mind leaving a little cash on the table with a smaller field, especially because a lot of these, questionable guys are going to be eliminated. So we're going to have to find a way to be a little unique. Do we want to double up on RFK? Do we want to? You said no Stenhouse, no Eric Jones.
No,
I mean, Ross is an option. It feels really dangerous, but could be
it's
fun.
extremely dangerous.
Um,
I mean,
God,
I don't mind doubling up on the RFK guys because
I think that's the
Keselowski is.
move.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's the move. I think there is like if I'm building multiple lineups, I think there is some that I build more heavy with like kind of back of the pack guys. I just like we talked about a bunch. I am concerned they get lapped down early. I am concerned that it's harder for them to get up where they need to be, and then all of a sudden they're getting involved in accidents and It's
Well,
even with green flag pit stops, they're still having struggles to get to the lead lap and stay there.
yeah, and the one thing too about starting in the back at a track like this, um, for instance, like say like Tyler Reddick, he was fast at practice. He was really fast. But there is definitely a world where he gets trapped behind slower cars who are holding him up and
Yeah,
actually cause him to get lapped. Like
and,
that's the danger in starting guy and grabbing
and
guys from
look
the
where
rear
he's
of the field.
sandwiched. He's sandwiched between Spinouts and Eric Jones,
And the open
and
guys are right
and Ross
behind him.
Chastain is 18. So he's just like ready to get like caught up in something. So
Exactly.
yeah, no, I think that's a good call. Let's say the lineup. So my card is a lot heavier than Brian's at this point. We'll talk about kind of thoughts. Right at this point when we're recording, Caesar's basically the only one with full odds, so we're just going to use their live odds and talk about that. And then if you guys find better numbers based on what we're saying, or you want feedback on what you find, let us know down in the comments. We're happy to chat it up. So I have Blaney at 18. I think he's really fast. I think this is a spot where he wins. I took Byron at 10 and Christopher Bell at 9. Those are my three outrights. I did Logano over Kyle Busch as my best bet. I have Ty Gibbs to win the Open at plus 420. And then I have Justin Haley to top 3 at 425. Brian has Blaney as well. And then he has Bubba over Keselowski, which we'll see how that works out. At this point, I think Brad looks pretty solid, but Brad is also one of those guys that doesn't mind pushing and getting into a little bit of a skirmish. So we'll see. We'll see come race day what ends up happening. So let's look at the odds as they sit now. Suarez is the favorite, and then Busher, and then Byron. Pretty interesting to see the movement. Obviously, the books really understand that if you're in the front, how important that is.
Yep.
I don't know that we're betting Suarez or Busher or even Byron at this point.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention this, something I mentioned to Kyle before jumping on here. I would rather take all of my money for this event and bet Daniel Suarez and Christopher Buscher not to win the race
Yeah.
than to take my entire allotment and place it on actual outrights for the week. Like that's it. I don't see a world where either Christopher Buscher or Daniel Suarez wins the race. Now, Buscher can finish inside the top 10, finish inside the top 5, sure. But I just, over 200 laps, I don't know if either of those guys are strong enough to be able to hold back the entire field of the top 23 drivers in the sport right now, or the top 24 drivers.
So if they are not, who is garnering the most interest? Because obviously we got some good numbers. Like 11-1 on a Kyle Larson is a steal.
Oh, give me Christopher Bell at 10-1.
Okay. I have him at 9. I'm gonna sit with that. I like that a lot. I think Logano 8.5 is fine. I know he's your arch nemesis, but I think he makes sense. Kyle Larson at 11-1 is really compelling. He is just that good of a driver.
Oh, for sure.
And it's hard to envision him having a ton of issues, but he has had his moments where he hasn't looked great. So I wouldn't fault anybody who doesn't take him, but 11-1. I mean, I have 3 guys on my card, so it's hard for me to add more. Luckily,
well, I think it's also interesting with Kyle Larson. You saw it in the truck race where he was kind of mired back, middle of the pack for a little while, and he was able to work his way up to the front. But I think that has a lot to do with the fact that a lot of drivers in the truck series are probably like, "Oh shit, that's Kyle Larson. Like, let's give him respect." Whereas in the Cup Series, none of these guys are going to be afraid of any one of their competitors, and they're not going to give them room. They're not going to allow them to bully them on the track. So Kyle Larson maneuvering his way from 16th to win this race is going to be one hell of a feat. And I don't put it past him, but it's not looking great.
I put it on the card. I can't help myself. We're so used to seeing 5s and 6s and 7s with him. Even I think there was an 8 when we were talking on Wednesday.
True.
11-1 is just too long for a guy who's as good as he is. And maybe it's a dumb move, but like you mentioned, he's just so dominant. It's hard to not bet him. Anybody like Ross Chastain at 18, but he's starting far back. I don't know. I mean, Brian
I
Blaney
think
at
Blaney's
20.
interesting at 20. If you didn't get it early because we had it at 18, like I'm not gonna add it again, but
I'm adding it again. Brian Blaney is winning this race, and if I can get 20-1 on him, I'm gonna add it. I only added a quarter unit when we talked earlier. I'm adding my another quarter unit to get me up to a half a unit on him. I have a half a unit on Larson, Bell, and Byron, so 2 full units on my outright card. Like, I'm fine with that. Reddick at 40 is interesting.
I was just gonna say there's 2 right there. I'm actually gonna add, just for the hell of it, both 23-11 guys at their numbers for a quarter unit each, just to give me a full unit on outrights for the week.
I think Reddick, of the guys that are like 20-1, like for him to be 40 when Bubba and Blaney and Keselowski and Harvick are all like around 20, it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I think that has a lot to do with the fact that he's starting 20th.
Yeah, but like Harvick's starting what, 18th or 17th or something?
Yeah.
15th? I don't know.
I think he's starting 15th.
It's just too far. It's just too big of a number for how talented he is and how fast he was. But yeah.
Oh, see.
Yeah, see, like let's look at these head-to-heads because I think there's opportunity here. Busher at minus 145 probably makes sense. Tyler Reddick at plus 135 against Ryan Blaney. I know I said he's going to win the race.
Again, though, I just added him to the card, but I'm telling you, I'm so worried that Eric Jones and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. are going to cause within the first 5 laps, they're going to be spinning or something, or hitting the wall, or just holding everybody up to the point that by that time, both Chris Buescher and Daniel Suarez are fast enough in order to get to them and be close to like. I think that's definitely possible.
If you want to fade Suarez and fade Buescher, you can do it with some head-to-heads. You can take Briscoe plus 120 to beat Suarez.
I can't bet Briscoe in anything right now.
We did that and we got burned.
Yeah.
Larson over Chastain, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Did you get a good number? What was your number? Oh, you got minus.
Oh, I got minus 110, so now it's a little bit better.
Yeah, a little bit better. Would you bet that again, knowing what we know now?
Yeah, I think Bubba was fine during practice. And look, Bubba Wallace is not the greatest short track driver, but he's also not the greatest driver on a lot of the tracks that he's run of late and finished inside the top 5 or finished inside the top 10. Like, he's clearly a different guy right now than what we've seen.
He's evolving significantly as a driver. The top 3 market, obviously a smaller offering this week, but still opportunities. Larson at plus 320 to top 3 is interesting. I feel like I should double up.
All right, there is one more I'm gonna add. I'm gonna add that Denny over William Byron matchup.
Yeah, I don't fault you for that. If I didn't have him on my outright card, I would probably join you on that.
Just because it's plus money, and Denny likes the short tracks, and he said he liked his car for practice. So,
and then Ryan Blaney is plus 550. I think he can win the race, but I'm going to give myself a little bit of a buffer in case he doesn't and gets second for some reason. What's the red dog to top 10-1?
The number is good, but
I wanted some Reddick exposure. I'm
okay.
not betting the 40-1 as nice as that is. I
I'm
don't
just
know.
curious. Like, okay, so it's really interesting to me that I understand that this is an exhibition event, but with the $1 million on the line, I feel like last year's All-Star race was fairly competitive
Yeah.
from a novice's standpoint of myself. So I mean, I don't think these guys are going to be taking it all that easy. And I'm just curious as to why the odds are posted as they are, because if this were a regular season race, a points garnering race, and this was the starting grid, no way is Tyler Reddick, who's starting 20th, even if the field is only 24 cars, is going to be 40-1.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think the books, and maybe we'll end up looking silly, but I think the books are giving us some value, and I think we need to jump on it.
Like, I obviously, like I said, like I'm not gonna get crazy this week, but
My
it's just
card is already far too crazy, but I think I'm honestly fine
oh
with it. Like Blaney, Bell, Larson, and Byron are my 4 outrights. I put 2 units on all of that to win. And then I have my Logano over Kyle Busch. I have 2 open race bets, and then I have Larson and Blaney, who I have outrights on, to top 3. And then I have the Reddick because it's 10-1.
yeah, that's a good number on the top 3 for sure.
So I don't know. And after all, I did dig myself out of my hole and had a killer week that last week. So it's time to give those profits back and get right back into that hole. Yeah, there's not a lot of like top Toyota or anything. Maybe they give us all that once the field is set, but
Yeah, I think we should review the open odds real quick, just for the hell of it.
let's do it. Let me see. Go to auto, NASCAR, open odds. Yeah, like Ty Gibbs is down to 2-1 now. You can get a better number at a couple other shops, I think, but pay attention.
That's
Josh Berry
wild.
plus 275. I think Almirola is a value at 4-1. Obviously, we didn't get the best of the number, but he
I
was
think
fast.
it's funny because we talked about this, and I was talking about Almirola and Priest. Like Priest's practice session looked like dog crap, but he was good at the Busch Clash crap, which is a super short track. I know it's not anywhere near the same surface, but short track. And then Almirola on an outright to be 4-1 when you have Gibbs and Barry at 2.75. Like I would much rather just lay the quarter unit on Almirola.
Yeah. Justin Haley over Harrison Burton at minus 110 is pretty interesting. How are those guys in? Let's see here. So Justin Haley was 20th and then 12th after 10 laps, and then apparently didn't run. Harrison Burton was 15th, 24th, 20th. Yeah, I'm adding that. I have a Haley to top 3 in the open. I think Haley will be fine tomorrow. And I'm getting minus 110 on it, so I like that. I think everything else is priced appropriately. Like I like Gibbs over Barry. I like Almirola over Priest, but I don't know that I like any of them. Like I guess the Almirola is not bad, but it's not good.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, in a vacuum, I would take Eric Almirola over Ryan Priest pretty much any day, but
yeah, Gibbs is minus money to top 3 now. Almirola plus 125.
all right. Hold on. While we're on here, we'll show you or at least my stupidity. I got to figure out how many damn laps this open race is. All right, so the Open is 100 laps. And we ran 60 for the heat races, and the leader basically ran away with it.
So
But
you get 2-1.
I'm curious, what is the tire fall off going to be, and like at what lap are they going to have to change their tires?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
can they run 100, or do they need to pit
no,
before that?
absolutely not. No way.
They have to pit twice? 3
That's
times?
the thing. I don't know what we're
I think it'll
expecting.
depend too, because I think if they get cautions, obviously they'll be more aggressive about pitting and giving themselves the best car at the end of the race. But
Yeah.
I think they'll have some decisions to make.
I do think though that freshies are going to be extremely important. So you're going to see them anytime there's a caution. Depending, I mean, obviously if they went 5 laps, probably not, but they're probably going to be pitting every single time in order to get a fresh set.
Yeah, and I wonder if like the people that make it out of the Open, if they have to use, if those tires impact their actual race, or how that works.
Let me see this. I'm pretty sure they have this somewhere.
Yeah, the internet probably full of information. We probably.
All right.
That's really more of a. We're not betting any of these guys that win the Open to win the race, so
Oh no.
I'm not super worried about it. But it is interesting that Almirola jumped so much, because he was the next tier down after Barry and Priest, and now he's 4-1.
Yep.
I'm happy I have what I have for the Open. I have Gibbs to win at over 4-1. I have Haley to top 3. You can actually get a little bit better number now. And then I have Haley over Burton. It's interesting that Haley over Burton's pretty close, but then the top 3 numbers aren't super close. I mean, I guess it's sort of close. I don't know.
All right. Yeah, I can't find anything on the.
It's all gravy. You want to review our cards, give the people a best bet, and get out of here?
Let's do it.
Okay. Brian is much more wise than I am. He has Ryan Blaney, he has Christopher Bell, he has Bubba Wallace, and Tyler Reddick at 18, 10, 22, and 40, respectively. You can see our units. We're not getting aggressive this week. It's an all-star race. We want to have some fun, but we're not trying to blow the wad. Bubba over Kez was his best bet from earlier in the week, and then added Hamlin and over Byron at plus money. Brian Twining, what is your best bet?
So I'm gonna go and stick with the Bubba over Keselowski, and I'm just gonna add another unit to that. I just feel right now Bubba is on like a different level of what we've seen him in a long time, and he looked good during practice. He looked fine during the heat race. So I like him to top Brad K.
I like it. I stick to your guns. Don't overexpose
And I'll eat
yourself.
the 0.05 juice there too.
Throw on a little extra. So I added Ryan Blaney at 20-1 after adding him at 18. I have Byron at 10. I have Bell at 9 and Larson at 11. Logano over Busch was my best bet from earlier in the week. I have Larson to top 3, Blaney to top 3, and Reddick to top 3. Probably got a little crazy, but these numbers are just way too compelling, so I will take advantage of it. I have a couple bets for the Open. I obviously have Ty Gibbs to win at 4-1, and then Justin Haley to top 3 at 425. My best bet's actually gonna be for the Open. I'm gonna take Justin Haley over Harrison Burton. Minus 110. You might be able to find better numbers elsewhere, but I like that bet. I think Justin Haley, if he doesn't get in, is right on the cusp of making it out of the Open. So I'm going to dive in on that.
Like it.
Yeah, give the people a little bit of a little bit of a different angle. Not that one, or that one. There we go. We did it. We got to land the plane, Brian Twining. Enjoy the All-Star race. Like I said, Brian and I will try and tweet out some stuff. If you have thoughts on bets you like and you want to get our feedback, let us know in the comments. Good luck on DraftKings if you're going to play this week. Good luck at the betting window if you're getting into it this week. It's an all-star race. Don't overexpose yourself. Try and keep it mellow and have fun with it. So we'll talk to you next time.